Okay, we're on page 4 of the end of the year test, number 23. The question is, a sphere has a radius of 6 centimeters. What is the volume of the sphere? Well, you have to know the equation for the volume of the sphere, which is 4/3 pi times r cubed. 4/3 pi times r cubed. Okay, so that doesn't really look like a 4 and a 3, but sorry about that. Anyway, so what we need to replace in this equation is the radius with the r. So the radius of 6 centimeters. So we're going to rewrite the equation. 4/3 pi. And instead of r, I'm going to write 6 cubed. All right. So the first thing we need to do, following order of operations, is this exponent here. So I'm rewriting everything around it. So 6 to the 3rd power. Well, that's 6 times 6 times 6 are 36 times 6, which is 216. So I'm going to rewrite that as 216. Now, if you notice, all of the options here have pi in them. So we don't really need to solve with pi. We just need to keep the pi and multiply 216 times 4 and then divide it by 3. And so when I do that, I get 288 times pi. And so our answer is D. Number 24. The figure shows two parallel lines intersected by a transversal. What is the measure of angle CGH? So we're looking at, let's get a better look at that, CGH. All right, so this angle here, and it tells us that this angle is equal to 7x minus 72. But we want to know the exact number. Well, first of all, what we need to know is that this angle and the angle up here, let me draw it in another color. Let's make it a purple. This purple angle here, the purple and the red angles are corresponding angles. And it means that they're on the same side of this transversal line, this FHGE line here. And so they're on the same side. One of them's interior, one of them's exterior, but they are corresponding angles, and they are equal to each other. So these two angles we can write an equation for. We can say that 3x plus 40 is equal to 7x minus 72. So now we just need to solve for x. So I'm going to do that by subtracting 7x from both sides and subtracting 40 from both sides. So that cancels out and that cancels out. 3x minus 7x is negative 4x, and that's equal to negative 72 minus 40, which is negative 112. All right, so now I've got negative 4x equals negative 112. I need to divide both sides by negative 4 to get x by itself, and so x is equal to 28. Now, you might go, oh, the answer is A, but guess what? That's not what we're looking for. They want to know the measure of this angle, the red angle there, but x is not equal to that. What I need to do next is take that 28 and substitute it in that equation, 7x minus 72. So I'm going to rewrite that up here, 7x minus 72, and then I'm going to rewrite the equation substituting for, or the expression rather, substituting for x. And so 7 times 28 minus 72. So 7 times 28 is 196. And then if I subtract 72 from that, I get 124. And that is my answer, and it is letter C. All right, number 25. A diagonal shortcut across a rectangular lot is 130 feet long. The lot is 50 feet long. What is the other dimension of the lot? So it's going to look something like this. All right, so a diagonal crosscut. All right, so we know the diagonal crosscut is 130 feet, and we know the lot is 50 feet long. What is the other dimension of the lot? So that's what we're looking for here. Well, since it's a rectangle, we know that this is a square, or a right angle, rather. We got right angles here. And so what we can we use is we can use our Pythagorean theorem, which states that the square of both sides of a right triangle is equal to the square of the hypotenuse, the sum of the squares of the sides. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You know that. So I'm just going to start substituting what we know. Well, we know that the hypotenuse, the longest side, is the c. So that's 130 square. All right, and so a is 50, and we don't know what b is. So we're going to solve for b. So first of all, we have to find out what 50 squared and 130 squared is. And so 50 squared is 2,500. So I'm substituting that. And 130 squared is 16,900. I'm going to substitute that. Now to get b by itself, I need to subtract 2,500 from both sides, which gives me 14,400 on the right. And over here on the left, I'm left with b squared. All right, so to find b, all I need to do is find the square root of both sides. And so b is equal to the square root of 14,400, which is 120. And so my answer is C, 120. All right, number 26. On the grid below, what is the distance between points A and B? All right, so I think it would be helpful if we take a look at the different points and what their coordinate pairs are. So first of all, let's look at this, and notice, here's what I'm noticing, that there's not one unit for each box rather. So we're going from 0 to 4, that means this must be 2, right? That's 2. And from 0 to -4, that must be -2 right there. Okay, so A is at point -2, +2. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to rewrite that. -2, +2. All right, and then looking at B, here's a different color. All right, so it looks like B is at this point in the on the x-axis, so that's at 6, right? And for the y-axis, it's over here, so that's at -6. So it's at 6, -6. Okay. All right, so looking at, now what we're looking for, what is the distance between the points? We're really going to use the Pythagorean theorem again, right? Look at this. We've got a distance here. So to find this distance, this C, we're going to take A and B. All right, so let's get this over here. So if I've got A squared plus B squared equals C squared, RA, what is the distance between, let me use a different color here. What is the distance between +2, because I'm going to do this, looking for the distance here. So +2 here, and this is going to be at -6. All right, so the difference between +2 and -6 is this, the length of A, if you will. And so that's going to be 8, because if you have started A and you're coming down here, this is 2, and then you've got another 6, so 2 plus 6 is 8. So this is 8. All right, now looking at B, let me use a different color. I'll use brown. All right, so this brown line now is the length of B, and so that is, here's a distance of 2, because that, remember, that's at -2, and this is at +6, so 2 plus 6, also 8. So that's 8. All right, so now we're going to have to find C squared using that equation. All right, so 8 squared is 64. So both of those are 64. And if you add them together, you get 128. And to find C, you're going to have to take the square root of both sides, and the square root of 128 is about 11.3. So C is approximately 11.3 units, and so our answer is D. All right, let's go on to number 27. A tank holds 50 cubic feet of gas to heat a home. The table shows the amount of gas left in the tank after each of 5 consecutive weeks. What is the rate of change? Okay, so remember that our rate of change is just our slope. So we're really just trying to find the slope, or the change in y over the change in x. And so the change in y, well, the y is always what is the dependent variable. It's the gas. It's the amount of gas in the tank is dependent upon the week. So this is our y down here, right? So the change in y, which is 44 minus 38, over the change in x, which is 1 minus 2. Now, why did I take 1 minus 2? Well, because I have to go the same way. I started with 44 here, so now I've got 44 minus 38. That's 6 over 1 minus 2, which is negative 1. So that makes sense, right? Because the gas is being used up, so it's going to be a negative slope. So negative 6 is our answer. So negative 6 cubic feet per week is our answer, or B. All right, looking at number 28. The equation below can be used to represent which of the following situations? All right, the price of 5 boxes of apples is $5. That does not make sense to me. That does not go with that at all. The price of 2 boxes, okay, 2 times x, that makes sense, of apples and a $5 drink, okay, that makes sense there, equals, yeah, the price of 3 boxes of apples. Yep, that works. Let's make sure for C and D. The price of 3 boxes of apples, okay, that would be like our 3x over here, and a $5 drink. Well, they're not adding on the same side, so that doesn't make sense. Equals the price of 2 boxes. No, see, you've got the 5 on the wrong side for that one. The price of 2 boxes of apples, okay, that would be the 2x over here, equals the price of, no, but that would be like 2x equals 5, so that doesn't work. Our answer is B. All right, number 29. Alexander rides his bicycle at a speed of 8 miles per hour. Which graph represents this relationship? Okay, well, 8 miles per hour, that's a proportional relationship. It would start at 0, and it would show an increase in 8 for the y on the y-axis, and that would be the distance, over an increase of 1 on the x-axis. So that's what we're looking for. First of all, I see this C is not going to work because it doesn't even start at 0. That's not proportional. This D doesn't start at 0 either, and it doesn't seem to be a proportional line. It's not, yeah, it's not proportional. Okay, so these two, A and B, are both proportional. Now we've just got to figure out, like I said, if our rate is 8 miles per 1 hour, remember that's our change in y over our change in x. That's our slope. All right, so 8 miles for every 1 hour. Well, let's take a look at this B since it's down here close to us. Here's the 1 hour. So is this equivalent to 8? Well, actually, if that's 16, that should be 8. It doesn't look like it's quite making it there. It looks like it's 8 miles for every 2 hours. 8 miles every 2 hours. That's going to be 4 miles per hour. No, we want it to say 8. Let's look at A just to be sure. Should be A because B is not working. See, there's 1, and it comes out at 8 miles. Yep. All right, so for every 8 miles on the y-axis, it goes 1, for every 1 hour on the x-axis, it goes 8 miles on the y-axis. So, all right, there we go. Our answer's A.